When I was first starting out, I actually was doing a fellowship in infectious disease. I was about halfway through and I was noticing that I was leaving the house before my babies were waking up and I would come home after they've gone to bed. And I just felt like you have to look in the mirror and decide whether this is something that you is sustainable. And everyone always tells us along the way that if you do this thing, then you should do the next thing and the next thing. And there's really no exit point, right? Like you're basically on this sort of highway of the next academic achievement in medicine. And I was not fulfilled and I was not happy. And I had never given myself permission to say no. And so I was halfway through that fellowship and I have never walked away from anything, but I did.
Welcome, everyone, to Super Doc Stories. I'm Mona Sodhi, your host, and today I am delighted to bring to you Dr. Nadia Sirdar. She is the CEO and founding physician of Bethesda Modern Primary Care in Bethesda, Maryland. And I'm going to let Dr. Sirdar introduce herself, but she is a super doc, and I can't wait for you to hear her whole story. Dr. Sirdar, tell our listeners, who are you and what do you do today?
Great. Thank you so much, Mona. So, who am I? I am a primary care physician who is made it my mission to offer primary care, especially focused on women in midlife, those who are crossing the threshold into perimenopause and menopause. Essentially, primary care is a very broad field, but there's very specific needs and gaps in care that exist for women in this age group. I have a sort of long background in internal medicine. I did hospital medicine for 10 years. I took care of really sick people. And a lot of the motivation for me to go out on my own was to figure out a way to create a system or a microcosm where there's a medical home for patients. And then they feel heard and they're able to prevent catastrophic endpoints that bring you into the hospital, but also just to have a healthy aging and to thrive.
I love that. Your primary patient that you treat is a woman in midlife. Is that right?
That's
So,
right. So
yeah.
I actually, it's funny because I have been taking care of both men and women, and I'm happy to do that. And I can do that very well. But what I found was I find most fulfilling this treating the patient who's not sort of being focused on in general. I think there's a lot of women out there who are busy young professionals. They're moms, they have aging parents, they're in that sandwich generation, and they're really having a hard time prioritizing themselves. And
Sure.
so I think the word self care has become like this luxury term that if you can afford to do that, but really it should become the norm. And I want primary care to be a thing that people don't just check the boxes. Did I get my mammogram? Did I get my colo? But really, what's happening with my bone health? What's happening with my cognitive abilities? What's happening with my gut or with my shoulder? There's a lot of specialties within internal medicine that see things very specific to this age group. And I really want to make sure that I am able to meet all those needs or direct folks to where they need to go.
I love that. I love what you said about having primary care not just be check boxes, but actually having it be what is going on with you and how can I serve you. And from an entrepreneur standpoint, I think it's really great that you have focused on one avatar. Yes, you can help a multitude of people, but you know
Right.
that to do one thing really well is probably the best way to go. And I think you touched on this a little bit in telling me about your history as a hospitalist,
Yeah.
being kind of more end stage disease. What originally pulled you towards becoming an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. When I was first starting out, I actually was doing a fellowship in infectious disease. I was about halfway through and I was noticing that I was leaving the house before my babies were waking up and I would come home after they've gone to bed. And I just felt like you have to look in the mirror and decide whether this is something that you is sustainable. And everyone always tells us along the way that if you do this thing, then you should do the next thing and the next thing. And there's really no exit point, right? Like you're basically on this sort of highway of the next academic achievement in medicine. And I was not fulfilled and I was not happy. And I had never given myself permission to say no. And so I was halfway through that fellowship and I have never walked away from anything, but I did. And I thought, I don't even know if I want to do medicine now. This is a whole moment of like crisis in my identity. And my mother's a physician. And so she said, why don't you just take a break? Meaning just pick up some moonlighting shifts and figure out what you want to do next, keep your license and keep everything current. And so it's funny because I was part of this Facebook group with physician mothers and somebody posted like, "Does anyone have a DC license? We need somebody to help us with nights and PRN." So I signed up for that, and I did one night, and then the medical director called me in, and I got scared that maybe I'd done something wrong. And she's, "Hey, you're really awesome. Would you consider just coming to days?" And I'm like, "Wait, what?" I just started like for nights just to figure out what to do next. And I hadn't even thought about it. This
Yeah.
hospitalist
Yeah.
wasn't even on my radar because I don't know the where I trained. I always looked at it as that's going to be like my a pit stop before you do fellowship. I didn't actually look at it as its own career. And so I almost happened upon that career accidentally. And then fast forward like COVID and third baby and almost 10 years. And I just woke up and thought, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about going out on my own for 5 years. If I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. I had nothing to complain about. Like, I love the people I worked with. I enjoyed the community I was part of. Everyone knows me. Everyone was kind and lovely. And I had a rapport. So, like, my job was quote unquote easy by the metrics of showing up and being happy. But I just came home exhausted and I had
Yeah.
nothing left for my kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love what you were saying before about comparing entrepreneurship to the traditional academic linear path that we're taught
Right.
to go down, which is like you
Right.
finish residency, you go to fellowship, then you get this job, and then that's your linear path. Whereas entrepreneurship is more expansive and allows you to be mom and to have your practice and to do what you
Absolutely.
like to do on your terms. So,
It's all about doing it on your terms, and I actually thought the only way I can do things on my own is if I don't do medicine. So
mhm.
this was like this light bulb moment where I was starting to listen to different podcasts and starting to hear things that were not typical for like the W-2 doctor who's employed and checking the boxes, like we said, moving through life, but life was moving so fast. And I don't know if it's like crossing 40 or your kids getting older and asking you questions, but I think my moment when I was like, this is not okay anymore is my daughter said, "Oh, mommy, was anyone mean to you at work today?" And I was like, "What?" And she's, "Yeah, mommy, you come home so sad. Was someone mean to you?" And I was like, "I'm not sad. I'm so good at faking being happy." No,
Yeah.
they like totally know what's going on with you.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, like, that's not what I want my kids to know. I want them to say, you work hard, you achieve your dreams, and then you live the life you choose. You don't just live the life that's handed over to you.
Totally. Totally. Gosh, kids have that way of just showing you who you are and what's really happening.
She's 12, but she's going
Yeah.
on like 24. She's always
Yes.
asking me like
Yeah. Yeah.
challenging questions and
Yeah.
having it's interesting because you tell yourself
Yeah.
whatever sounds good to keep
Yeah.
going.
Or you settle for what is in front of you.
Settle.
But your daughter, it sounds like she showed you your reflection and she said, no, this is
Absolutely.
actually who you're becoming by working in this hospital system. So
Yeah.
you're an inspiration to so many of the listeners who are thinking about leaving their W-2 job or starting something big on their own.
Yeah.
So, in terms of, I think we talked about this, but one of my questions was, what does your business solve? And I think you mentioned that it's for women in midlife who
Yeah.
deserve care after putting everybody else first and actually
Yeah.
looking into their care, not just as a checkbox list of things to do, but
Yeah.
actually as a series of health that will give them longevity. And how did you? So, have you opened yet? Has your
Yes, I've
kingdom body
opened.
primary care
I've
opened?
opened. I've onboarded. We just signed our 20th patient, which is so exciting.
Amazing. That is
So that's
fantastic.
wonderful.
Our listeners are going to want to know, how did you get your first clients? Because I think that's the scary thing that a lot of people face is how will people find me? They're used to the insurance-based world. How do I convince them to see me? Or maybe they're already practicing in the insurance-based world and they're not allowed to bring their patients to their new
Sure.
practice. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about how you got your first clients, I'm sure they would.
Absolutely. So I will say, number one, my role, who I serve, is both, it's women, but it's also, I would say, my number one piece of advice is to first decide what is the system that's going to work for you. So whether that's the insurance based model, a hybrid model, I have a direct primary care clinic, and I didn't even know what direct primary care was until I got involved with it and went to the summit and learned more about it. So that seemed to gel with kind of what I wanted for myself and for my patients.
Yeah.
So you first have to come up with what is going to work for you.
Sure.
And I don't think there's like a perfect answer for it's very unique to your individual situation. And I do believe you can be profitable and have a thriving practice, whether that's in a direct primary care model or insurance based model. I just think you need to be aware of what you're walking into. The second thing is, it's interesting. I started thinking about this probably 5 years ago, and I started to talk about it with my friends and family and neighbors. And every single person along the way was like, okay, tell me when you start, I'll be your first
Right.
patient. And you hear this and you're like, that's nice. Thank you so much for being so supportive and kind. But you don't really believe them. I don't know if that's an imposter syndrome we have for ourselves or if we just don't think people are
Sure.
going to jump if they say they're going to jump. But really, I was going on these long walks with my neighbors because that was like my sanity. And they would be like, why are you still doing this? It's so hard. You have a newborn baby. And I was like, I'm a physician and this is my time to serve. And like, I feel good about
Yep.
serving my community. And so they were asking, like, are you going to keep going? Like, when this is all over, what are you going to keep doing? And I was like, I would love to have my own clinic. I would love to open my own practice. And then my neighbor, who, like, COVID was a really difficult time for working women. She's an amazing person. She's a pharmaceutical type person, pharmaceutical world herself, but she has 3 young girls. And she was like, hey, I have a nest egg set aside. So if you ever think you need like any support or if you want someone to invest, I'm ready to
Amazing.
do it. And I
Amazing.
was, I don't want to take money from my neighbor.
Yeah.
But she was offering. And then there was this like moment where I was like, oh my gosh, my neighbor's ready to put her savings on the line for me. Like she
Yeah.
really believes in me that much. What's wrong with me? Why can't I believe in
Yeah.
myself?
The health and wellness space, it's always been huge. It's always been a
Right.
multi-billion-dollar industry, but
Right.
there are studies that show that post-COVID,
Yeah.
especially in America, we have now pivoted our priorities to our health. And
Right.
so this is the time to really get into it. It might feel like everybody's already here, everybody's already doing health
Right.
and wellness, but
Right.
there is room and there
There's
is a
so
need.
much room.
Yeah. So I
And what
love
she kept saying was like, hey, I'm going to my doctor and she's not really listening to me. And what I kept doing was defending the doctors that are in the insurance system because I'd say, listen, they really want to help you, but they don't have time. It's not personal. They really want to help, but the system is pitted against the physician. And essentially, they're just like struggling to survive. And you just have to do your best. But pretty much more and more, what I was hearing feedback from my community, my friends, was it's not good enough. I'm not okay with this. And so when you open, can you tell me? So my
right.
first 12 patients were sitting waiting for a solid 18 months.
Yeah.
And that's crazy, right?
Wow.
Like I
Well,
and it's
yeah.
wonderful, but it
Yeah.
was like, and there are other physicians, which is like a wonderful compliment, but it's also a lot of pressure because we know as physicians, we're not the best patients. And I had to be very clear with them. Listen, I know we're friends and colleagues. And just FYI, if you don't listen to me, I might have to fire you.
How has that relationship been like with your colleagues and all that? Do you find it is it more natural than you thought taking care of them or is
It
it
is. It
okay?
is. Because here's the thing, the way I take care of my patients, it's a partnership.
Sure.
And so there's really not much of the asymmetry.
Yeah.
My big thing is if you already know what to ask for, if you're in medicine and you're health literate, wonderful. But even if you don't, or even if, let's say, you're a radiation oncologist, you might not know primary care. So the idea is to meet the person
Yeah.
halfway and to educate
Absolutely.
and empower them
That's
so that they
so
feel like
important.
they have the right tools to ask you questions. And then I can give my professional opinion and then we can decide together what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. So I like what you said earlier about how you were defending doctors in the insurance-based system.
Right.
And it's interesting. I used to be in academics as well in a hospital-based system. And some people just spent a lot of time complaining about the system and the system
Right.
is broken. And it is. We all know that. But I think direct care is what allows physicians to actually do something about it. You can
Totally.
go to Washington, you can lobby to try to make changes that way.
Yeah.
And there are great people doing that. But
Yeah.
what doctors can do now, if they want to deliver this quality care and giving patients time and attention, is going direct. So I think that this is actually a solution to all of the problems that people are talking about. It's not going to fix every problem, but
Right.
it gives back the physician autonomy and it gives the patient back the proper doctor-patient relationship, which, as you
Right.
described, should be a partnership. It's not
You know
necessarily
what's
yeah,
interesting? I think that if you gave, I think 99% of doctors, if you gave them the option to do this, they would choose it.
yeah,
It's the fear. It's the
yep,
fear of failure. It's the fear of like gap in income. It's the fear. There's like literally a million things that you can list to say the reasons why you can't do it. Right.
exac
And so what
exactly.
I would say is in like a broader picture of like how you live your life, when you look back, that saying, you won't know
Yeah,
know what you miss unless you take the shot. So,
Yeah.
or some version of that. I don't even know if I said that, but
Myth, 100% of the shots you don't take, I think.
yes, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I remember you asking me about how I got traction early on. So number one was talking to my friends and family. And really it was organic because I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Hey, I'm thinking about.
Yep.
And then number two was I do have four brothers, and two of them are entrepreneurs. Actually, three out of four are entrepreneurs,
Okay.
and they're in different fields. One is in like commercial
Yeah.
buildings. One is in the startup world in San Francisco. And what was interesting, I'm the eldest of six, so they're all younger than me, and I always blow them off as like, you guys don't know what you're doing. You're not grown ups yet. But
Yeah.
they were like, you know what, Appa? Appa means older sister.
Yeah.
Appa, we're sending an article on how to do XYZ. And hey, if you're thinking about doing this, you could save a lot of money if you do it this way. And so I
Yeah.
was getting all this feedback from all the people who love me to be like, you can do it. And here's
Yeah.
one more tool. That was really a huge like boost. And then the second thing was my whole family is physicians. So my husband is a stroke neurologist. My mother-in-law is radiology. My mom is internal medicine. And they had all did private practice before. Not my
Okay.
husband, but the
Yeah.
older
Yeah.
generation. They were like, this is the best thing ever. Of course you should do it.
Yep.
And I was like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah. You need to see the example.
why didn't you guys tell me
Yeah.
before? Why
Yeah.
did you let me work this dumb
Yeah.
job?
Yes.
It's so hard.
Yeah. Thanks,
So
Mom.
that was a big one. And then it's going to sound silly, but I signed up for the Bethesda Farmers Market, and it has literally been a game changer. Like I have my little tent there. I go out there for 5 hours, like one Sunday a month, and
That's
I
amazing.
just hang out. And I am there with my children and my aunts and uncles and my mom. And everyone in the community keeps coming up to say, I heard about you, or my friend heard about you, and
That's
it's
amazing.
organic. It's one by one.
I love that. So no Facebook ads, no Google ads, nothing like that.
Nothing, just physically showing up.
So in summary, it's basically telling your inner circle and people that are just remotely connected to you, right? About who you are, what you're doing. I love that. And showing up. So showing up at the
Showing up.
farmer's market. I love that. It's such an innovative way. And it makes a lot of sense because the people showing up at the farmer's market definitely are
They
particular.
They
Yeah.
have their own priorities, right? They're the
Yeah.
ones coming
Yeah.
for the best like rutabaga and the best
Exactly.
cauliflower, and they know
Exactly.
their recipes, and
Yes.
they're very healthy in their lifestyles.
Yeah.
And Bethesda tends to have an older population that's pretty health literate. Now, a
Uh-huh.
lot of those folks have, if they've downsized, I didn't realize this until after the fact, but I noticed all these older people, like 60 and up, either retired or semi-retired, they would downsize and live downtown, and so they can
Oh,
walk to the
nice.
farmer's market.
Okay.
So there's all these like lovely
Where
little
they're going,
parks
you
and
know?
townhouses and
Mhm.
libraries, and everyone's walking. So it's like a very
Yeah.
neat little microcosm.
I love that, and then even if they don't stop by you, they see your tent and they see
Yeah,
maybe you pick up a brochure, they scan your
totally.
QR code. So I love that, and I'm sure the first time you did it, you were probably not feeling totally confident in your ability to do it, a little bit
No,
nervous. Tell
I
me
was
about that,
terrified.
and yeah, so if you had to talk to one of our listeners that's thinking about putting themselves out there, what type of advice would you give them to just get through that the scaries of actually putting
Berries.
yourself out there?
So pick people around you that make you feel good and make
Yeah,
them go with you. So I got my best friend who has a global health background, and she's
yeah.
fabulous and like gregarious and social, and everyone thought that she was the doctor. I put
Yeah.
her on one side. I
Yeah.
put my sister who's in policy on the hill. She looks so lovely and
Yeah.
dressed up nicely. They thought she was the other doctor. So
That's
I
amazing.
literally put people out there that would give me
Oh, so
confidence.
they're not standing at the farmer's market. They're at the stand. They're actually, like, out in the field.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
They're like, and
okay.
my sister was
Pulling
like,
people to you.
"Oh, Appa, I found something that looks just like you. That's who you need to market to."
Yeah.
People come to each other, birds of a feather. So
Yeah.
if they see somebody that looks like them,
Nice.
they're like, "Hey, I see you have three young kids. I'm dealing with this too. What do you do with A, B, and C?" So
Yeah.
number one, I would say pick people to be around you, at
Your
least in the
people.
beginning, that just make you
Yep.
feel good. It
Yep.
doesn't matter if they have a medical background.
Yeah.
And then two, I would say just be brave. I know it's
Yeah.
really hard, but be brave and fake it till you make it. Cause I was dying inside. Like I was like, I can't believe I've been running away from families at the hospital and I'm running towards them.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah, it's just launching yourself out there and showing the
Do it.
world
Just
what you
start.
stand for and who you are, and it's been well received, so congratulations on that.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing. This my next question relates to bringing the right people, but
Yeah,
how has community or mentorship really played a role in your success so far?
sure. So I'm not sure when I started listening to some of these podcasts, but I was listening to these podcasts for a few months, and then I started finding the same names that were mentioned in the podcast to be in the same little group of like my DC like physician
Okay,
moms.
local docs. Yeah.
And so like the local docs
Yeah.
for I
Mhm.
think it's like physician mothers group or something, but
Yeah.
it's the local DC version.
That's a great group.
And then
Mhm.
it's an amazing group. So many resources. Everything from where do I do my kid's birthday party to like how do I figure out this rash? Like
Yeah.
it's just everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I reached out to a few of the individual physicians that I had seen or heard on those podcasts, and they were local. And I was scared. Obviously, I was like, hey, I'm somebody you don't know, but I'm curious and I'm thinking about doing the
Yeah.
APC. And they were so generous. They just picked up the phone and talked to me.
Yeah.
And they're like, come see my place, come see my office, come hang
Mhm.
out,
I love
come do XYZ, make sure you read this book, read that. And I was like shocked because these are busy clinicians who are building their practices and they have families and they're doing everything. But it was like paying it forward. And it's something that I really want to do myself because I feel like you just need
that.
one or two people to
Yes.
give you like
Yes.
oomph to be brave. Right.
Yes. Yeah, totally. And I think that the subset of doctors that do go out on their own into private practice in this day and age, because our generation, we know, you were just saying 75% of physicians nowadays are employed, right?
Correct.
They're not self
Correct.
employed. And so you're part of this unique subset, and the subset gets that this is hard.
Yeah.
And it is very much a community, a very
Uh,
supportive community. And I love that you have found your local one in
Yeah.
Bethesda to help support you because there will be hard times and you need to
Right.
get through them. So I love that in-person community. How fantastic is
It's
that?
so cool.
Um,
It's so cool.
Personally, I know that there is a lot of private practice in Arizona, but one of my mentors is actually Dr. Brooke Choulet, who I should invite onto our
Oh,
podcast. And
yay.
she was pivotal in just saying, just open, just start, just do
Yeah.
something and don't look back. So sometimes it does just take that one person to tell you,
Right.
just do it.
You know what's interesting? One of the individuals that I spoke to was like, "Hey, I know it's really scary, but come and see my day. Come follow me for the day and see what I do." And it was interesting because what I took away from it was, yes, her day was very full. And yes, she was like, literally, she was texting her son about where his like after school kit is for baseball and
Yeah.
coordinating with her husband to pick up so but then
Mhm.
also doing a quick like patient evaluation and then mentoring somebody who wants to go to med school. Like she was doing everything all at the same time. The thing I realized, she had a genuine smile on her face the entire. And
Yeah.
I was like, she's literally so happy. She's so busy, but she's happy. And
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
Yeah, I think that it's a fair statement to say that as you become an entrepreneur, you will probably work more hours and harder,
Yes.
especially in the beginning. But it's worth it. And it doesn't feel like burnout related work. It
Doesn't feel like
feels,
work.
yeah, it feels like this is the work you like to do
Yeah.
and that
Right.
you have balance, you have autonomy. You can pause to tell someone where the baseball gear is. You can
Yeah.
mentor someone else versus being in
Right.
an academic setting, which definitely there's people that need to be doing that and that are good at that and they're
Right.
good positions. But unfortunately, they don't always have the flexibility. My husband works in an academic
Yeah.
setting
They,
and
right.
it is tricky. It is
Yeah.
tricky. But I love that, especially as a mom, that you have now opened up this opportunity. Dr. Nadia, you have given us so many gems.
Thank you.
So
I
thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much for providing our listeners with just a little glimpse into your story
Yeah.
and how you've become this amazing entrepreneur.
Thank you.
How can our listeners find you or work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got lucky and got this wonderful website called BethesdaDoctor.com. I don't know how it wasn't taken, but it's my website and it's super easy to funnel folks to different, like the Instagram and Facebook. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Nadia Sirdar and Facebook and LinkedIn. And I just started a YouTube and TikTok, but just I don't know how I'm going to do all of it. So let's see.
Well,
But
we include all of that in the show notes.
that
That
would
way our
be
listeners
wonderful.
can find you. And are you accepting new patients right now?
Accepting new
Okay.
patients. I do a discovery call that is 15 minutes chatting with me on Zoom, asking me questions about the model, figuring out if it's a good fit. And really quickly before I go, I just wanted to give you one tiny there was a question about what was messy or unexpected early on. Um,
Yeah.
one of the things I wanted to just say for physicians who are thinking about doing this is we have a really hard time believing in ourselves. And sometimes people will promise us things that if they put a dollar amount on what they're going to promise, and then it makes you a little bit of a sitting duck. So my like messy thing in the beginning was to say yes
Yeah.
to somebody that was, I don't think they were being opportunistic, but I think they were. And I ended up spending a lot of money in a place that I don't think there was value. And so it's just be careful. You don't have to spend the money to put your name out there. These relationships are organic, they take a little bit of time, but there's a reason that once you hit like a certain momentum, it goes up logarithmically from there. So just believe in yourself that the process works. You don't have to spend tons of money up front to like quote unquote be known.
That's a really great piece of advice. Was that someone that had promised getting you patients or getting your
Yeah,
email?
it was like a fancy social media person who was, like,
Okay.
working for a big institute, and she was introduced to me through a neighbor, had a family friend who this was her good friend, and she kept saying, "Oh, we'll do everything according to your, like, needs and budget and whatever." And then ended up I was, like, abroad visiting family, and I got this huge bill, and it was like, "You need to pay this bill or else." And it was very, like
Wow.
just felt very I felt taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think that happens to people, but I was like, "Okay, chalk it up as, like, a cost of doing business," but I just felt sheepish because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
should have known better." But it happens because it's with
Yeah.
own insecurity that I didn't understand social media, so I'm like, "Oh, maybe this person will help me figure it out." But really, you can learn anything.
You can learn anything. And that's actually at SuperDoc Tech, what we're focused on is
Right,
empowering the physicians to say, you
right,
can do this. Doesn't have to cost oodles of money
right.
and do it with other physicians who are also starting
Do it
from.
with other doctors, and I'll
Yeah.
say I'm not saying, like, everybody's gonna be able to give you everything that they promise, but I have a feeling that if you go with a physician who's been in the same shoes as you, it just feels way more organic and a little bit more intuitive in terms of the questions and answers you get.
Yeah. In my experience, when I've worked with other companies, it's more technical and it's
Yeah,
so I love being able to serve physicians that say, okay, I know what you're trying to do. Let's try to do that together. We know like HIPAA and compliance and all
right,
these little things that are
right.
very specialized to what we do. Thank you for
I
bringing.
will say whatever you guys are doing is working because I have learned so much and I'm so excited to spread the word. And I feel like I'm one of those like Tupperware party people who's, have you heard of Super Dog Tag? Can I tell you about it? Can I show you my stuff? Because the thing is, I was so overwhelmed when I first met you about, I can't do this. It's too hard. And
Yeah.
now it's just baby steps. But like the accelerator program was very helpful. And, like, you guys were so generous with letting my team listen in, and now we all have learned together, and I think it's really important to empower physicians and give them a skill set so they feel like they have access.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Nadia.
Yeah.
One more time, remind our listeners where they can find you
Yeah.
and your website and your Instagram, and we will link it at the bottom of the show notes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, Dr. Nadia Sirdar, Bethesda Modern Primary Care. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but you can find me at bethesdadoctor.com, and I'm at Dr. Nadia Sirdar, NADIASIRDAR, Instagram and Facebook.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Yeah.
Nadia. It's been my pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you.